report tonight, I want to highlight some of that important work, and I have brought visuals. All right, so this is the catalog for Columbia College for this past year. And in it, on page 70, if you're following at home, there's a page that lists courses that are equivalent between the two colleges, which is really important as our students become more mobile moving between both colleges, and we've had several meetings and conversations about wanting to make that easier for students to move back and forth. This fall, both colleges will launch Starfish, which I think you've heard about, which is that online piece where students are able to work with a counselor to better have access to their educational plan and be able to check in with it. Well, one of those pieces that Starfish does is it takes this page 70, that's kind of an obscure page in the catalog, and puts it front and center for them in Starfish, which is awesome. They'll be able to see which courses are equivalent between the two colleges, except when they're not. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so here's my story. Imagine, trust you, Martin, you have decided that what you need next in your life is to become a Columbia College student, and we have a new environmental science degree, and you've decided that's what you need to do with your life, and you're going to get it, and then you're going to transfer it to Humboldt State, of course. So, as part of that, you've got your degree plan put together, and this spring you are scheduled to take English 1B, Advanced Composition and Introduction to Literature, and that you're taking that because, one, it's a great class to take, and two, it also happens to fulfill a general ed requirement in an area called A3 critical thinking. Awesome. Something happens to you this spring, you work more than you thought you needed to, and this class just didn't work out, so you ended up having to drop it. You're kind of bummed about that because now you're behind, right? Who wants to be behind? But fortunately, you're chatting with your friend, Trustee Beggs, who says, wait, what class do you need to take? You're like, English 1B. She's like, I don't know that numbering system, but what's the name of it? And you say, oh, yeah, it's Advanced Composition and Introduction to Literature. And Leslie Beggs says, no way, that's on my ed plan, but I'm taking it this summer. Come down to MJC and take it with me. And you say, oh, well, that works with my schedule. So let me actually check on Starfish. And Starfish says, yeah. So right, your question is this really equivalent MJC? And you get on to Starfish, and Starfish says, yeah. But MJC has a different number. It's English 102, but it's the same class. So you decide to take the class, and you and Trustee Beggs have a great summer. You learn lots of stuff. You have new skills to become, to apply to your environmental science degree. You're jazzed, you're on track. You come back in the fall, you meet with your counselor, and you let her know what happened, or him, I'm not sure who your counselor is, and they say, oh, Trustee, you're gonna have to sit down. You're not gonna like this. You're like, what won't I like about it? Exactly. Well, it just so happens that MJC, lost track, English 102 fulfills C2, humanities. What? I know. You needed to take, as you recall, that class, English 1B at Columbia College, to fulfill A3, critical thinking. And at Columbia College, it also counts for C2 humanities, but you already took your humanities class last fall. So now you've taken English 102 at NJC, but it doesn't fulfill your critical thinking requirement. You can imagine her emotions at this moment.
Darn that Trustee Beggs.
Oh yeah, blame her. That's what you should do. So this is the scenario that is the case for several of our courses that are listed on that equivalency list. That in many ways they are equivalent, but in some ways they are not. And it goes both ways. There are some courses that a student at NJC, if they came up and took it at Columbia College, it would not fulfill the gen ed requirement or degree requirement for them. And so what we've done, what we've worked with at Columbia College, and we're working with our colleagues at Modesto, is to identify those courses, pull them from that list, so it isn't broadly advertised to students as being equivalent when they're really not, And then our next step is to work on making those truly equivalent. Yes, that's your next question, right? We wish it would be as easy to be like, call up on the phone and be like, hey, let's make this equivalent. Sure, check the box, work is done. No, that's not the bureaucracy we're in. So what it requires is both colleges have a curriculum process. So we have to honor that process and work through that process. And for this particular scenario, it actually has to go to a state committee. So those agreements about what portion of Gen Ed different courses fulfill is not decided locally. It's actually decided at more of a state committee, and they have a year-long process that starts in September. So we're working on making those actually equivalent, and as they become equivalent, we'll be able to feed those back into our system and not frustrate our students in the process. That is my report. Have you any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
So as we're working out pathways, are we looking at equivalency as we work out those courses of study between the two colleges?
I think that, yeah, I think that's part of the broader conversation, is wanting to help students navigate between the two college easier. And so trying to look at what courses are easily equivalent, and then what are our next steps to make it as useful as possible. And recognizing that fluidity that happens in the lives of our students.
Well, thank you for that lovely illustration.
Absolutely. I'm sure Trustee Martin will forgive you. It's really our fault. It's not yours.
Thank you, Council.
Has anybody ever thought of like making the numbers the same? Having the equivalent?
We've had that conversation, and of course it's more complicated than it appears. It takes a lot. I'm not the curriculum specialist, so if they want to pop up and talk about it, but we were having that conversation, and it's a difficult process, but it's on the radar, and I think it's one of our end goals. Thank you for asking. Hopefully, in a couple of years, we'll be like, we're all the same.
Might I respond a little bit on that? We had a meeting yesterday with President Fairchild and her team. We had acknowledged some of the problems that you have alluded to, and we're very happy that your team is working on it. We have committed for our rollout of Starfish to have a comprehensive list of what is genuinely equivalent, but going a step further, internal and external equivalence, so that we can identify what is equivalent to the colleges, to the four-year institutions that the students might wish to apply to. So work is going on our side of the house as well. I'd love to collaborate with you on that to keep the process moving forward on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right.
Okay. Moving on now to item 5, activities and announcements. Madison Junior College President Jill Stearns.
Thank you, Chair Garrett, trustees, and Chancellor Young. I'd like to extend my congratulations to the MJC speech and debate team on their victory at the first spring competition. And I'd like to just ask that you check the activities and announcements for the details around the Positive People series, around the guitar concerts, and the MAPS presentations that are listed there. And I'd like to highlight that Saturday is the 34th Annual Hispanic Education Conference, and that it is always exciting to see the energy in the room at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, where we have 800 high schoolers gathered for just what is a tremendous, tremendous event. And you are welcome to join Saturday at 8. And next Saturday, our agriculture department is hosting the FFA Field Day. We'll have around, this says 1,000 high school students. Last year they had over 2,000 high school students that were competing, and lots of excitement that starts primarily in the East Pavilion. And what I am very, very excited about, because it's been far too long since MJC presented a musical, Hairspray opens on the 16th, and so you are not going to want to miss it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Brian, you're going to fill in for Angie family emergency this evening and couldn't be with us. So thank you for filling in, Brian.
You're welcome. Good evening. Welcome to Columbia. Glad you all made it up here. I'd like to highlight a couple of things from our list. First of all, Rod Hoyt has been declared Coach of the Year by the Central Valley Conference, which is quite an honor. Was that a who or a who?
It was a
Okay, so Coach was honored, and it's neat what it says. This annual award honors members of the California Community College coaching profession who show exemplary participation, dedication, and contributions to their chosen sport. The recipient coaches exhibit leadership, high ethical values, in addition to serving as outstanding role models for student athletes and future professionals. And I've seen that in action. I've had the opportunity to go down to several of the games of both volleyball and basketball this year. It's been great. Second is a congratulations as well to Erin Nigley, who was up here, and to Lisa Murphy, an adjunct instructor in forestry and natural resources, who've gotten a bat education grant. Now, I need to educate you, it's not educating bats, it's actually educating people about bats, and in particular the white nose syndrome that has a tendency and has a potential to come down into our area. So there's going to be some monitoring, educating people about bats, promoting bat habitat, and I do think we're going to end up with more bat boxes around campus. Is that?
Probably not. Bat boxes don't actually work for bats.
They don't actually work for bats. So one of the things that I will learn in my bat education is that bat education. Yeah. Okay. And then lastly, two opportunities for to invite you to come to Columbia College. First of all, on April 12th for our scholarship award ceremony. Please come if you're at all available.